Hi everyone, this is Sherilyn Gamalo, your reporter, and I will going to discuss the continuation of the factors that influence a company's decision to invest. The seventh factor is policy. Are there local incentives, cash and non-cash, for investing in one country versus another? For example, and investment policy statement or IPS is a document drafted between a portfolio manager and a client that outlines general rules for the manager. This statement provides the general investment goals and objectives of a client and describes the strategies that a manager should employ to meet these objectives. So remember that a consistent and adequate investment policy has a double function in the short run and in the long run. And in other words, it serves as a basis for both acting on and communicating about investment alternatives. The eighth factor is ease. Is it relatively straightforward to invest and or set up operations in the country, or is there another country in which setup might be easier? So in this factor, we all know that in making company decision, it is not easy. And to answer this question, while the short-term process may have changed, the characteristics of a good company in which to buy stock have not. However, stable earnings, return on equity, and their relative value compared with those of other companies are timeless indicators of the financial success of companies that might be good investments. So we should always make decisions logically and timely. The ninth factor is culture. So is the workforce or labor pool already skilled for the company's needs, or will extensive training being required? So first thing, when we say culture, it is considered as the way of life of the entire society. And in relation to company needs, it is very important to invest in having a proper training to the employee, since the employee came to a different society, and because if employees are well trained, the more productive of the performance they provide to the company. So the organizational culture influences decisions by its members and the way in which it influences its members' acceptance or rejection of the decision. That means when the manager making decision, he or she must consider more things to ensure the decision can work out efficiently. And the 10th factor is impact. How will this investment impact the company's revenue and profitability? It is very important to be mindful of how we use our investment, because it will definitely reflect to the revenue and profitability of the company. And when we say impact investments, these are made with the intention to generate positive, of course, and measurable social and environmental impact alongside of a financial return. The 11th factor is the expatriation of funds. So can the company easily take profits out of the country, or are there local restrictions? So in this factor, it is very important to identify where a company can easily raise funds. It's either international strategy or in local management. And when we say expatriation of funds, it involves converting foreign currency into a different country's currency. And it's a process that many US expats, companies, and US workers in foreign countries have to go through. So the expatriation process can be divided into the following stages. First stage is the personal recruitment and selection. Next step Next stage is contractual conditions, then preparation and support, as well as repatriation. And an interview with a MNC compares theory and practice and points out possible reasons for failure. And the last factor is exit. Can be the company easily and orderly exit from a local investment, or are local laws and regulations cumbersome and expensive. So in this factor, an exit occurs when an owner decides to end his involvement with a business. So most often such an exit is accompanied by a sale of the owner's stake in a company, but this is not a necessary condition. For example, an entrepreneur may hire a management team to run the business but still retain his equity. And furthermore, an exit strategy is a contingency plan that is executed by an investor, trader, venture capitalist, or business owner to liquidate a position in a financial asset or dispose of tangible business assets once predetermined criteria for either has been met or exceeded. In FDI, or foreign direct investments, there are two forms. It's either horizontal FDI or vertical FDI. So when we say for horizontal FDI, it occurs when a company is trying to open up a new market or a retailer. So in other words, a business invests in a foreign firm that produces similar goods. So for instance, Nike, a US-based firm, may purchase Puma, a Germany business firm. They are both in the industry of sportswear and therefore would be classified as a form of horizontal FDI. And on the other hand, when we say vertical FDI, it is when a company invests internationally to provide input into its core operations, usually in its home country. So vertical FDI, it is when a company acquires or merges with a foreign company to add more value to its supply chain, and it is called a vertical FDI. So for example, if an automobile company invests in a foreign company manufacturing semiconductor chips, the vertical integration would improve supply chain. There are also different kinds of FDI. First one is greenfield and the other one is brownfield. So first, when we say greenfield FDIs, it occurs when multinational corporations enter into developing countries to build new factories or stores. And the other kind is brownfield. And when we say brownfield FDI, it is when a company or government entity purchases or leases existing production facilities to launch a new production activity. So go back to the first, which is the greenfield FDI. More specifically, it is when a company set up or expand their business operations abroad, creating brand new jobs or facilities from the ground up. And the excellent example of this type of FDI is the construction of the Shanghai Gigafactory by US-based Tesla in 2019. And in brownfield FDI, in simple terms, a brownfield is a property that is either contaminated or that people think might be contaminated. So common examples of brownfields FDI include former gas stations, metal plating facilities, and dry cleaners. So that's all for my part. I hope you learned something. Thank you.